Hey guys, it's Sal. Today I have another great video for you. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that subscribe button. Our channel is growing every single day and I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Everything that I'm going to be talking about in this video is included in my book, From Pre-Med to Med Student. It's a comprehensive guide on applying to and getting accepted into a United States medical school. So please check it out on Amazon.com. And without further ado, let's get started with the video. So today's video is about the various ways to get into medical school. So there are many different ways that you can get into medical school, but three of the most common ones come to mind. And I'm gonna kind of go over at a very high level on the three different ways that you can get into medical school. So the first and most common way of getting into medical school is to simply apply as an undergrad. And this is probably gonna compose about 90% of applications. So these are really students that are in their third year, they've just kind of finished the MCAT and they're applying to medical school straight out of undergrad. And I would say this is definitely the most competitive route because over here the applicant pool is the highest, but this is also pretty common because a lot of students are trying to get into medical school straight out of undergrad. I will say there's a caveat to this in that you can have a gap year, and the gap year really makes you stand out as a student. I talk about this in my video on gap years, which I'll link in this video. But essentially, if you're applying as an undergrad, you can either apply straight out of your junior year, or you can apply after taking a gap year where you've really built your application and made it more robust holistically in all different facets. So really, when you're considering applying as an undergrad, make sure you consider whether or not you're taking that gap year to really improve your application. So another way of applying to medical school is through a BSMD program. Now these are typically 8-year programs where you're getting your bachelor's of science and then you're automatically getting accepted into a medical school, and they're usually the same overarching school that's offering the program. Now these programs are pretty competitive to get into, but once you're in it, there's a couple of stipulations that you may need to meet. For example, a GPA cutoff, and if you meet those stipulations, then you get automatic entry into the medical school. This is really advantageous because you don't have to go through the MCAT medical school application process. So not only do you save a lot of money, you save stress, you save headache, and you know for sure that you're going to be accepted into the med school provided you meet the stipulations. So really a BSMD program is a great option for students that are pretty sure that they want to get into med school. Again, it's competitive to get into one, but if you are in a BSMD program, you basically have a really easy ticket into med school. So another way of getting into med school is through a post-bacc linkage. Now, a post-bacc is a post-baccalaureate, and I talk about it extensively in my book, From Pre-Med to Med Student. But basically, if you're getting into a post-bacc, now not all post-baccs offer this. It's usually formal post-baccs that are really reputable, but essentially it's an agreement between the post-bacc program and a medical school that, hey, if this student meets the MCAT, volunteering hours, GPA, etc., they will automatically be accepted into your medical school. And this is called a post-bacc linkage. And a lot of schools around the country, you're gonna have to do your research on this, but they have post-bacc linkage programs. And these are really advantageous because basically after you've completed your undergrad, let's say you wanna improve your grades in a certain area, you could do a post-bacc program, a formal post-bacc program, and get into medical school via a linkage. So it's almost like it's similar to the BSMD where you're kind of guaranteed admission to a medical school depending on meeting certain stipulations, but if you meet those stipulations, you're in. You don't have to go through the MCAT process, which saves you a lot of time, stress, and money. So which method would I recommend the most? Well, if you have the option, I would definitely go with the BSMD program because I think those programs are really reputable and you're kind of just straight out of undergrad going straight into medical school. You don't have to worry about it. Now, if you don't have the option of applying to a BSMD program, let's say you already are in the middle of a bachelor's, I would recommend taking a gap year to really bolster your application, make sure it's really good on all different areas. And I talk about gap years in other videos on my channel. I also talk about it in my book. But basically, if you take a gap year, you can really improve your application and make sure you get that interview and acceptance offer to medical school. If you've completed your undergrad and you are not getting an interview invite or something like that, let's say your GPA is not good enough, then always consider a post-bacc or an SMP. I talk about it in my book a lot. I'll also make several videos on those, but that's your other option if you are already done with your bachelor's and you're not in medical school already. So there you have it. Those are the various ways to get into medical school. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and please hit that subscribe button. We are growing every day. I would love to have you as a subscriber. And as always, everything that I mentioned in this video is included in my book, From Pre-Med to Med Student. It's available on Amazon.com, and I will talk to you in the next video.